roads, installing median guardrails on the interstates, and law enforcement. So to me, they had a concentrated program on reducing accidents. One recently from the state of Oregon, a similar kind of thing. They've, in spite of record-breaking storms this past year, they have reduced their accident rate of fatal accidents down to the lowest within 9 years. And so far they've had about 414 fatalities. And I'd like to quote from the Safety Division Administrator for the state. Oregon will be well below the national average for the 10th straight year after being at or worse than the national average for 50 straight years. So to me, somebody did something, and we should do likewise. And I do have a copy of these news releases for you folks. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. The next member of our coalition to speak will be Phil Dow from MCOG, who I'm sure you all are familiar with.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. You do have the slides, okay. Brought these with me just in case we had technical failure. I'm usually before you talking about some kind of funding situation for highways or something of that sort, but I want to let you know that safety is one of the overall goals of the Mendocino Council of Governments. And I'm just not going to take very much time to tell you what some of the things that we do that you may not be aware of. Our staff, particularly myself, participates in a number of project development teams for state highway projects that are in Mendocino County, and always one of the things we look at in the development of a project on a state highway system is the safety aspects, and that's just part of what happens in the project development team. Another issue is the safety-related projects that we actually program in our State Transportation Improvement Program. Our local part of that is called the RTIP, or the Regional Transportation Improvement Program, but it goes in the state system where we get projects funded through the state sales tax and gas tax money. And some of those projects are safety related and safety motivated. We do fund a number of other smaller bikeway and pedestrian projects that improve safety. We have a regular program to fund such projects, as well as we also do transportation planning projects that develop bicycle and pedestrian type projects. Just for an example up here, you've already got the second slide up here. These are some of the things that we have programmed in our transportation planning work program this year. And I just pulled out 4 of them just to act as examples of how these are related to safety. The first one is work element number 4, the road system traffic safety review. That's the particular project that Bob Parker was just talking to you about. I guess it was 1994 when we put that in. I remember putting that in the work program back then and saying, well, just see what you can do with it. And the County Department of Transportation funded this and went through and made some changes and recognized some problems, and particularly signing and striping type changes. And then Steve Ford took a hold of it and really starting to develop it on a systematic basis and started keeping track of before and after. Before we were just doing it without monitoring results. Then he got more systematic about it, monitoring the success excuse me, of these projects, and it's been highly successful, and in fact it was recognized with a national award as a low cost program to promote traffic safety. That's something that we regularly fund through our transportation planning work program. Another example is the type of thing you might not think about, but we are helping the city of Willits fund the street and construction standards, and as you can well understand, that's safety has a certain aspect when you're considering construction standards. Another one is the Gualala Community Action Plan. I know that there's people from Gualala in the item before us, and one of the things that we look at is improving the safety in this particular grant-funded program that we have going on. It's just wrapping up now, and one of the things we're doing is looking at the streetscape on Highway 1 through the community, trying to increase the safety by doing some widening and some unpopular, probably, parking removal to allow additional width for walkways and bikeways in that community. Last thing that we have going this year, and I think Captain Madrigal pointed out this program early on, is the Safe Routes to School program, where it's funded at two different levels. There's a federal program and a state level. And one of the things that we chose to include in our work program this year was a request from the city of Willits that wanted to do an entire program for the entire city to point out the deficiencies and have projects identified so that then they can take this product and use it for future applications to actually implement the Safe Routes to School projects. These tend to be sidewalk improvements and bikeway improvements. Another thing that we do on a regular basis, acting on a different hat as the Mendocino Service Authority for Freeway Emergencies, better known as SAFE, is we are in charge of the call box program that motorists can utilize if they're stuck somewhere on a remote highway in Mendocino County. We do have a few of those. For those, I'm talking to three people here that are either on my board, one who's been on my board in the past, but we are still installing call boxes, whereas in other parts of the state they're taking them out. They put them where people were. We're putting them where people aren't. We're putting them in remote areas where there's still very either a lack of service or lack of good cellular service. Last thing is how Mendocino County relates to the safety issues. The Council of Governments is that we support the safety efforts of our other traffic safety coalition partners, and working together like this, even though it isn't enough. Every couple of months we learn things from each other, and we have been in a position to support each other in their different projects that they have. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil.
Next member from our coalition will be Sam Barnett from Coastal Valley EMS. I think right now would be a good time for me to point out one of the very important tasks that they or resources that they provide is administrative support for our coalition, because as you know, any group or coalition that we belong to always has that administrative support that needs to be done, like maintaining the agendas and keeping the minutes and sending out the meeting reminders. And I think it's not, we can't understate how important their involvement in that aspect of our coalition has been. So, Sam Barnett.
Thank you, Ray. I'll remind you of that on my next speeding ticket. Mr. Chairman and members of the board, I'm Sam Barnett. I'm the EMS coordinator for the Coastal Valleys EMS Agency for Mendocino County, and I really appreciate your letting